Let's do it.
We are live. What's up, everybody? Happy Monday. Hope you all had a great weekend. March Madness continues to be the death of my bank account. It's the same story, new chapter, same year, the same story, different year with me. March Madness beats my ass every single year, and every single year I say, and I said the same thing this morning, but every single year I say, next year I'm going to just focus on the NBA and just have fun with March Madness, not take it too seriously. And then every year March comes around and I'm like, let's get it. It's March. We're going big. Kicks my ass again, man. I still have
It's hard not to get swept up.
My only hope is I still have a ticket Purdue to win the Natty. So I think I have that for $200 to win $1,400. So if Purdue wins the Natty, it pretty much recuperates all of my losses, and I'm fine. So I still end my championship in my bracket was UNC Purdue. So people will kind of forget all your losses if you called the championship right.
That's true.
So I'm still somewhat alive, but as far as my picks in these shows, I'm getting my ass kicked. Anyway, so no Prop Beaver. Prop Beaver is officially in baseball mode, so that'll be Thursday, first baseball show of the year. Prop Beaver, he's taking it. Prop Beaver thinks he's going to be the sharpest guy in the show this MLB season. That's what he thinks. But we'll see how that works out. So as you can see, I got 3 guests today, which actually works out. There is 11 games, but I would imagine several of us are going to be passing on several of them. So more faces, maybe get some more angles. I personally have only bet 3 games so far. So we'll see. Let's get it started. We got Hornets plus 11.5, Cleveland minus 11.5, and a pass. I got Modi up first for this one. Would you like to kick us off here?
Yeah, I actually do have a play here. This one that I do have money on and did give out. It's Caris LeVert over 11.5 rebounds plus assists. The odds have been swinging on this pretty wildly. I got it at minus 104. Then it went up to plus 104. Now I think it's best offered at minus 115. So I don't think there's been any Evan Mobley injury news, at least last that I checked. I don't know if there's anything you guys have updated. I thought he wasn't going to play, but then it looked like he was. So I don't really know. Anyways, even if Evan Mobley plays, I just like this spot as a buy low spot for Caris LeVert. His assist rate and his playmaking has been phenomenal for the Cavaliers, and they've desperately needed it. He's averaging more assists per game, per 36 minutes than Darius Garland since March 1st. And guys out of the rotation still, Donovan Mitchell, Dean Wade, and Max Strus. And the Dean Wade one specifically, for whatever reason, his assist rate goes up 4 assists per 36 minutes when Dean Wade is not on the floor. And some of his, if you take out the last game against the Heat when they just got smoked in the first half, that game, you can't really take anything meaningful from that. He played 20 minutes. In his last 10 games, he's averaging 8 assists and over 12.5 potential assists. And then his rebound number is set at 4.5. That's a number he's cashed in 6 of 9 games. That includes the last game against the Heat. So if you take that out, 6 of 8. And according to Courtside Pal, it's a pretty good matchup, specifically for his rebounds. They allow the 7th most rebounds to his rebounding style. And in his last 10 games, the games that he's missed was the game against the Heat. Twice he had 11. And another 3 games he had 10. Once he had 11, in 3 games he had 10. So his floor is there, and his ceiling is there as well. He's crushed it with 19, 17, 14, and 13. So I like this Caris LeVert play. I haven't really been hip to it, but his usage rate's up, his assist rate's up, everything's up with all the injuries for the Cavs, and he's been phenomenal. So that's where I went.
Caris LeVert over 11.5 rebounds and assists. All right, let's bring up Chris next. You got anything in this one?
Absolutely not. I did look into it, man, but it's a difficult one. I can't trust Charlotte, even though it feels like they have some advantages in this game. I just don't. I feel like they checked out here, fellas. I did my homework. I looked into the game, but this team is 2-8 straight up, 3-7 against the spread in their last 10. Also, just 8-29 straight up, 13-24 against the spread on the road. I mean, this is not a good team. I thought that plus the 9 was a good bet the other day. I'm glad I didn't bet it against Atlanta. And, they come out and lose by about 120. So, I don't feel like I want to trust Charlotte in this spot. And I know Cleveland's on the second leg of a back-to-back, but they got smoked yesterday. So I could definitely see them coming to play in this game. I stayed off of it, fellas.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have any money down on this one either. What I could do is read you the angles that I came up with. If you didn't watch the handicapping show this morning, I did do this one. So Cleveland is 4-7-1 against the spread on 0 days rest this year. So That's positive for Charlotte that Cleveland's on a back-to-back. That being said, they were getting their asses beat, and they rested their starters in the second half. Those guys only played like 21 minutes for Garland, and Mobley played 21 minutes. So even though Cleveland's on a back-to-back, they shouldn't really be gassed here. So it's not enough to really get there. Cleveland's been struggling defensively against jump shooters, which favors the Hornets as well. The Hornets have been taking a lot of jump shots. The problem is they've been taking a lot of jump shots. They're not making them. So, I mean, can we bet the Hornets based on the fact that they're going to get looks as far as perimeter shots? Because if they're not hitting them, who cares if they get the looks? I will say, and this is a nice one. This is what actually really got me close to betting Charlotte here. The Hornets have been forcing turnovers, and this is dating back a month or two now. So it's not like in the last 10 games, they're fourth in forced turnover rate defensively. Cleveland on the season is 4-8 against the spread against top 5 teams in forced turnover rate. So the Cavs have struggled against defenses that force turnovers. Hornets may not be doing a lot well, but they're ripping turnovers. So there's something that will point you towards Charlotte, and I will put Charlotte plus 12 up because that's the only way I'd bet it. But like Chris said, this team is a mess right now, and especially on the road. Just based on recent production, there's no way I could put my money on Charlotte on the road, no matter, even if I love the matchup. Even if the matchup was perfect and I found 6 angles I'd love for the Hornets, I'd still pump the brakes before placing confirmed bet on this one. So it's going to be Hornets plus 12 or pass for me with an emphasis on the pass there. Let's bring up Josh.
We talked about that Charlotte game on Saturday, and we're like, who is Atlanta to be giving 8 points to anybody? We had a little too much confidence in that one. It was over before the first quarter was over. But the only thing I would play in this one, if it's under or pass, it screams under. I mean, everything with Charlotte is under. Do not bet an over with Charlotte at all right now. They can't score. They will slow the hell out of the game, and they'll sell out on jump shooters because they know that, like, if anybody gets near the paint, Nick Richards is going to be the same turnstile that he's kind of always been since he came in the league. So it's an under because they're taking away those jump shots. If Evan Mobley does play, definitely even more of an under, choppier and better defense for Cleveland. So that's the only way I'd go in this one.
And at last I looked, it looked like Dean Wade and where the heck is it? All right, here we go. Dean Wade and Strus were questionable. Let me see. Have they been ruled out? Yes, they are out. They are out. So, yeah, that's updated. They were questionable. When I was doing the handicapping show this morning, they were questionable. So, it looks like they're out. I guess that would point me a little more towards Charlotte, but still not enough to get me there. So, our poll is on Cleveland, but not overwhelmingly. 42%, 33% in favor of the Cavs. So, Cavs won the poll. Most of you clicked Cleveland, but a bunch of you are betting Charlotte out there. So, let's move on to the next one. Brooklyn, Toronto. Chris, I got you up first for this one. Interested what you have to say here. I caught like 5 minutes of Ski Show. I think he might be on Brooklyn. He was definitely leaning Brooklyn. I wasn't able to say until he actually. Are you on Brooklyn?
Absolutely not. But that's the way I would look, though. I would look towards Brooklyn. I'm not on the game. I'm not laying 6.5 points with the Brooklyn Nets. That to me seems a little too crazy for me. They don't have Cam Johnson. I think that's a big piece. But I can't bet Toronto. Who's betting Toronto at this day and stage in the NBA? Not I.
I actually just won a Toronto bet the other day, but no, I'm not betting them either. Just happened to jump.
You bet them against.
I took
Washington,
plus 6 against Washington. Yeah,
Wizards.
Yeah. You're much braver. You're much braver soul than I am, Kyle. But yeah, Brooklyn. What you get? 1 day's rest, 3rd game of a 4-game road trip. They played 8 of their last 10 games on the road. That's a spot that's typically not a great spot. Well, 0-10 straight up in their last 10, 3-7 against the spread, just 1-5 against the spread in their last 6. But Brooklyn, boy, this is like the battle of two evils, Kyle. I'm just wasting time. I'm just giving you guys the information that I felt. I can't play this game.
Yeah, I mean, I feel similar. Both of these teams, so this is another one that I went over this morning. Both these teams are just almost unbettable at this point. Toronto 3-9 against the number in their last 12. Brooklyn 2-7 in their last 9. Brooklyn on the road almost unbettable. Toronto 6 straight losses against the number at home. 0-7 against the spread in their last 7 at home. There are a couple angles that I actually like here for the Nets. What do we know about this Raptors team? We don't know much because it's like a brand new team. So we're dealing with about, 6-7 games of data here. But one thing's pretty certain. They run a fast pace. This Raptors team run a fast pace. Even with this new lineup, Brooklyn on the season, 8-2 against the spread against top 5 teams in pace. So I like that. The Nets are hitting at 80% when they play these teams that run fast pace. Also, under the same category, the Nets are also 6-3 against the spread against top 5 fast break frequencies. I think the Raptors are first in the season. Teams that run the fast break, kind of in the same conversation as the pace. So Brooklyn against these types of teams that push the pace and run the fast break, extremely high hit rate. Also, the Nets offense is attacking the rim a lot recently, something they didn't do earlier in the season. They're like 5th in rim frequency in the last 10 games. This Nets team attacking the basket now plays into the weakness of the Raptors defense. Here's the problem. One thing the Raptors are doing is, and this comes out of nowhere. I'm going to pull it up just so I don't give you, I didn't write it exactly down, so Raptors Nets, watch this. Oh, I don't have it. I can't pull it on the screen, but I'll just read it to you. So Raptors Nets. Right here. Raptors defense is terrible, right? On the interior, they get cooked. They cannot protect the basket. But actually, Toronto's starting to play some good defense on the perimeter. In the last 5 games, they're 5th and 6th against the above-the-break three-point shot in frequency and efficiency. That's where the Nets like to shoot. And then on the season, playing into what I just said, on the season, Brooklyn just 3-7-1 against the spread against top 5 three-point defenses. So I couldn't pull the trigger on this one. But yeah, I agree with what these guys are saying. Hold on, let me get my pickup on the screen. I should have done that before. But I agree with what Chris said here. I think the Nets are the play, but I don't think I could actually pull the trigger on it. This is not one of the ones.
Cal, can I ask you a question real quick? What would the based on what you know about the matchup and about Brooklyn defense, what would Toronto team total have to be for you to consider you would take a over?
An over? Oh, I thought you were going to say under.
No, over. What would it have to be for you to take a over on the team total?
Jesus Christ. An over? I thought you were going to say under. So, and an over, it looks like we're looking at 110 with a 6.5 point spread. So we're looking 106.5. Yeah. Yeah, I was just doing the math based on the spread and the total. Nets defense, but look at the Nets pace, though. Like, how can we count on a team to get over that can't score if the Nets are going to slow the game down? I'll tell you this. I won't do it. How about that? I won't do it. Is that really – are you leaning Toronto team total over?
No, I'm leaning Toronto team total under.
Oh, yeah, then I would agree with you.
On it.
Yeah,
right. That's why I asked you. I was wondering what number you would
Oh, yeah, I mean, based on what we've seen from – I'd be surprised if Toronto hits 103, 104. So – I'd say under, yeah. I don't mind that.
106.5, yeah. I'll keep that as a lean. I'll look a little deeper.
It's just I just hate how the Nets have been struggling to protect the rim out of nowhere, and that's what Toronto does. So it's a little bit of a hit or miss there. Josh, what are your thoughts?
Good segue from Toronto can't defend the rim, because my favorite bet is another Kelly Olynyk under. I was talking to you on the show on Saturday, Kyle, and I was like, I got bullied by my own live stream into taking an under on Kelly Olynyk because it had hit so many times in a row.
Did it hit?
And I was like, this is not when you do it. You don't do it against the Wizards, as this thing has creeped all the way down to 12.5, which it was last game. Now it's back up to 13.5, which is great because we have the momentum of him just doing it against the worst team down low. I mean, I guess the Wizards and Hornets can battle for like supremacy of least capable interior defense. But either way, like that's the only matchup. Like Richaun Holmes was the center combined with some Denny Avdia at center. Like there's no centers there. I didn't list centers right there, right? So that's why he was able to do his thing, right? And get assists against the Wizards, who give the most assists to whatever position or whatever profile you want to say. They're just going to allow you to get assists, and that's not going to be the case with Brooklyn, who limits assists to everybody. They also limit his points, but the rebounds are the only thing that like he could potentially just like get a few, but he's still only at 10 rebound chances a game. He's at about 9.5, 8.5 in that range potential assists per game. So Kelly Olynyk with his 30% contested rebound percentage, meaning if he has to contest a rebound with somebody, he's losing 3/4 of the time basically, right? Like I'm not going to assume he's going to get any of those. Half of them are contested. So even his rebound chances as high as they are, even if he hit at a ridiculous rate, it would still just be like, I don't know, like 6. It was what I would put it at. So I keep loving the fade of him, and it's a great spot. So that's the best bet from that one.
Kelly,
but just so you know, I would also, everything does tell me Brooklyn would be able to cover this game. I wouldn't bet on it with your money. So.
Yeah, laying 6.5 on the road with a bad team just sounds crazy.
Needs to make jump shots? No.
What about Mr. Modi?
Wouldn't bet on it with someone else's money. I have a Nick Claxton over 10.5 rebounds. That kind of goes in hand with the under for Kelly Olynyk. You can't look at season-long stats with certain teams, and the Raptors are one of them, because not only is their entire team different, but even of the guys that they have on the team, nobody's playing. And because of that, they don't have a real center. And the rebound numbers that they've been giving up are just obscene to centers. And I get, like, people are going to see 10.5 for Nick Claxton and be like, well, that's simply too high. I'm taking the under, because he has only cashed it in one of his last 10 games. So I admit that the win percentage obviously isn't there. But to me, like, the books are just begging you to take his under. And I'll gladly zag, and I'll gladly take his over. It's best offer now at -118. Okay, so it's the same price. Yeah, so and I would to me, I would hammer that. I put a full unit on it myself. 3 straight centers against the Raptors have cashed their rebounds prop over. That includes Sabonis, who had an over-under of 15.5 that I didn't touch because it's too high, and he had 17 and he barely played in the fourth quarter. Last week, Jalen Duren had 23. In the same game, James Wiseman had 10. Yeah. Jokic had 17 against him. Nurkic had 14. Chet Holmgren had 10 last night. He's like a similar rebounder to Nick Claxton. Or not last night, last game, excuse me. Yeah. Like the last 30 days, they're allowing 18.9 rebounds to centers. The next closest team is down at 17.2. That's like a massive gap between them. If you extrapolate like how many games are played, that difference is huge. They just have no depth. Nobody can score, and they attack the rim. So it's like a ton of rebound opportunities for centers. So I love the Claxton angle here. It's like the perfect. People are going to see under 9 of his last 10 and immediately be like, all right, well, I'm taking the under and I'm moving on. Where that's always when I want to zag.
All right, Claxton over rebound. So it seems like the two props are props that people actually bet. Me and Chris just had leans here. I'm not on the Nets. Didn't sound like he was either.
I'm not.
Yeah. Let me clarify. I am definitely not. So
these games real quick, you could like definitely get a sponsored like responsible gambling segment where it's like, remember to gamble responsibly, aka probably don't put too many units on this game, right?
Yeah, probably check yourself on this one. But our poll is another one that's pretty close, 40%, 32% in favor of Brooklyn. So I saw a couple people in the comments saying they're taking the point. So there is a lot of people out there betting Toronto. It's not an overwhelming one-sided affair here. Let's move on to the next one. I promise we're going to get the games that I did bet, but this is not one of them. Detroit on the road at the Mecca. I think this line might even be 16.5 now. I'll put the poll up at 16.
It is.
It's a lot. How about that?
And it's rising too, by the way. It's like 211.5, 212 in most.
I saw the total rising. Yeah. I actually do have some angles here, and I'll go first. I actually do have some angles for the Pistons here, and one that's kind of crazy. So first, I am not betting this. So everyone listen. This is not being bet. Why is this so big? All right, so let me get Pistons.
Damn. What? Dude. We were all thinking it.
All right, so Pistons was 16.5. All right, so check this out. So what do we know about the New York Knicks? They're playing elite defense, and they run a snail's pace. This team runs the slowest pace in basketball, and it's not close. They're the slowest team in the NBA by far. I think they might be the slowest in. Let me just confirm. So, yeah, they're 30th in pace in the full season, 30th in pace in the last 10 games. In the last 5 games, they're 28th. So this is like there's no one even close. Knicks are the slowest pace team in the NBA by far. Ready for this? Detroit on the season, 11-2 against the spread, against the bottom 5 teams in pace. And now, if this was like 7-4, be like, okay, whatever. Like, that could be just chance. 11-2 is a serious hit rate. 11-2 against the spread, against the bottom 5 teams in pace, and the Knicks are dead last. They are 30th. So that's a crazy angle right there for Detroit. Also, Knicks 3-6 against. Wait, there's only one thing that Detroit's doing at a solid level right now. It's protecting the offensive glass, and they're actually first in the last 10 games. Detroit is not letting people grab offensive rebounds on them. That's one of the strengths of the Knicks. They're an excellent offensive rebounding team. And on the season, when the Knicks play these teams that don't let them get active on the offensive glass, Knicks just 3-6 against the spread against top 5 defensive rebounding teams. Detroit 6-4 against the spread against top 5 offensive rebounding teams. So that rebounding advantage right there, another thing that points to Detroit. Another thing, this is a crazy one. I shouldn't even say it because it sounds weird, but the Pistons are having serious problems protecting the basketball. They're dead last in turnover rate, but weirdly, the Knicks are just 4-7-1 against the spread against the bottom 5 offenses in turnover rate. I don't even know what that means. I just thought it was weird. But yeah, there's a lot of things that point to the Pistons here. And we're talking about laying 16, 17 points with a team that hasn't really shown us they can consistently score. We know the Knicks can make stops, but you're going to need to score to cover 17. So I think this is the side to be on. But again, this is not a game I bet. So this is a Detroit or pass for me. Josh?
To be clear, you are not betting this game. I just really want to hammer that point home for me. I do. I will also. I don't know what would have to happen for me to bet on anything in a 17-point spread. Like, I can't bet on a prop with that. I don't know who's going to be playing the third quarter for this Knicks team if they're up by 20 at that point. But I can say that, like, if you were going to bet on the Pistons, the reason you might not is when you look at the like offensive rebounding you're talking about, well, the other team isn't missing any of their shots. So there really are no offensive rebounds for that team to go get. That would be one thing, but it is an offensive rebound percentage that the Pistons are limiting. So I get that because the Knicks still are going to crash those boards, but I'm just going to pass on it, man. There's nothing you could tell me that would make me bet on a game with the spread.
Yeah, I feel the same. Modi?
Unfortunately, I'm also passing. Earlier I gave out, Josh Hart double-double, but it was at plus money. Now it's best offered at minus 110. I don't think it's worth it at that number, even though they'll win by 35 and he'll still play 40 minutes because of Tibbs. But I'm not touching it. And I do want to answer a chat. Someone asked if I'd take that Claxton one at over 11.5. It depends what the odds are. Like if it's pretty good, like plus 120 or above, I probably would take it. Anything below that, I would not for the Claxton rebounds. Just answer that question.
Couple comments here. Someone said, I'm betting Pistons. Kyle convinced me. Yo, I'm not betting the Pistons, yo. I'm not betting the Pistons. So someone said, end no Cade. You're crazy if you're on the Pistons. Detroit actually has an excellent hit rate without Cade. They're like a really good hit rate. So they've actually been more profitable without him. Chris?
I don't know about that though, Kyle. I don't know if you saw the updated injury report. Not only is it no Fontecchio, there's no Duran, no Fontecchio, no Gibson, no Grimes. Like this team is going to be starting.
Sounds like some hungry guys looking for minutes. That's what it sounds like to me.
I mean, that's true.
Yeah, they might score 70 points. I might look towards the Detroit team total under. We know that the Knicks are going to play super slow. It cashed yesterday. I was on them against the Pelicans under 101.5. I think it's like 97.5. If the Knicks play slow, if Detroit, slows the game, well, I think they probably play faster, honestly. But it's not going to – just because you play fast doesn't necessarily mean you're going to score points. Detroit also on the second leg of a back-to-back with travel. I just don't see a way that they're going to be able to score the ball. I think the Knicks could, even if they overlook this team, they still could struggle to get to 85 points. So it'd be Detroit team total under here or nothing for me at all, Cal, but it's not anything that I play yet either.
They're saying your mic is buggy, but I hear you clear as hell. So
yeah, it sounds fine to me too.
Yeah, it's coming in clear for me.
Yep.
Okay. Great.
Maybe I don't know. Unplug and plug your mic. I don't know. It sounds clear to me, so I don't know.
Same, yeah.
All right. Anyway, 52%, 25% in favor of Detroit. So the chat leans towards the Pistons. I guess I sold some people with my compelling argument that I wasn't even personally betting. Next up, Boston, Atlanta. Another one where I am not betting. But the reason I put Chris up first is because I think, and I didn't watch any of his content today, but I think he's about to tell us he's taking Boston first half. Am I right on that?
How did you know that, Cal?
Because we talked about this the last two Boston games. You like those Boston first halves on the road.
Boston first half on the road, man. It's the gift that keeps on giving. Best ATS team in the league in the first half, and they just covered against the Chicago Bulls the other night on a fifth game in 7 nights. So it really doesn't matter, like, at this point, like, who they tried out there. Boston just, like, continues to do well in the first half. 29-7 against the spread. Why haven't we just blindly been telling that all season to be up, like, 75 units or whatever the case might be? 29-7 is a crazy hit rate. You also get an Atlanta team. I looked into a couple different things. They're 0-2 straight up and against the spread as home dogs of 4 points or less. So this is by far the biggest spread that they've had to cover. And they got smoked by the Clippers and the Pelicans in those games. They're also 0-3 straight up and against the spread coming off a 20-point loss, a 20-point win this season because they did just beat the brakes off Charlotte the other day. And the Celtics, 8-0 straight up, 5-2-1 against the spread as a double-digit road favorite, including 3-0 straight up and against the spread since the All-Star break. They're also a plus 23.1 in net rating since the All-Star break. So, yeah, I'll gladly take Boston here in this spot. I mean, this team is the hottest in basketball, and I don't think that Atlanta, without Olynyk Okongwu and without Jalen Johnson, going to be able to even keep this one close, specifically in the first half. Boston will trick up some second halves, but give me Celtics first half. Number is 6.5. Best number I found was -115 on BetMGM.
It's really hard to argue with something that's hitting over 70% this late in a season. I mean, how do you even argue with, like, it's not like we're 3 weeks in. They'll be like, oh, that'll even out. Like, yo, we're almost into the freaking playoffs. So Boston's first half is truly a wagon. I'm not sure if I put much weight into this, but does the fact that Boston just clinched the 1 seed factor any? I don't think they care or would take their foot off the gas, but they did just clinch the 1 seed, I'm pretty sure. So, I mean, some people might want to be like, hey, what's the point of even playing? I don't know. I mean, I said we didn't really go over this game on the show this morning, but I said Boston or pass, so I'll put Boston -10.5 here. But to be honest, I'm probably less likely to bet this than even the Pistons. So nothing for me. I promise I have bets down. We'll get there. Just it's a weird one. Mr. Lander,
slate.
It is brutal.
It is a brutal slate. I actually have 2 bets for this game. I'm actually taking the Boston team total over 118.5. By the way, I'm tailing the hell out of your first half Celtics bet, Chris. I cannot believe that I'm not hip to this right now. Like you were talking about 29-7, but definitely going to take that. I totally feel that. I think that they should have 65 points or so by half as well to help us get cleanly over that 118.5 for their team total. They've been doing this. They've been doing it on the road. They've been doing it wherever they play, like in a house with a mouse, whatever, all the Dr. Seuss things. They do it everywhere. The thing I also like here for a player prop is I took Derek White over 14.5 points. I believe he's still questionable, but I do like that with the matchup, that not only the matchup, but the lineups that we're talking about here, because we know Drew Holiday's out, and without Drew Holiday and with the other 3 starters that are going to be around him that are normally in there with Kristaps and the Jays, he's 5-0 to the number here, averaging basically 20 points per game, 34.5 minutes, taking 14 shots. And that's where I start and pretty much end my argument is if you tell me Derek White is taking 14 shots in a game and he needs to get 15 points, like, yeah, okay, great. He could have a bad percentage and even bad for him. But he's going to be the beneficiary of looks. I think a 3-point prop here is also a good look, but they love to do that thing where it's like -165 for the over at 2.5, and it's like +105. It's like, get out of here. Like, what kind of chump do you think I am for this? So they just put it right on the cusp. I can at least go to like Prize Picks when that happens and see if they have a better deal than what's offered on the sports books. But if you can find a good prop that's not -160 for the over, for him to hit 3 basically on the threes, he's the beneficiary of like Kristaps and Jay Tatum running that pick and roll together. And then that's their offense every time. It's that play or Jaylen Brown. Go ahead and do some Jaylen Brown stuff and get out in transition and attack the basket. And then when he gets double teamed, he kicks that out to Derek White. So he's hitting the threes, he's getting the points, and the volume should be there for him to get the 15, even if this thing is a double-digit spread by half.
I'm getting trolled in the comments here. It said Kyle's a girly man, scared of betting first halves. Yo, it's not. I am not a first. And by the way, someone said Kyle never bets the Celtics. While he was talking, I checked. I've only bet Boston 3 times this year, so he's right. I don't bet the Celtics. So it's not that I'm scared of the first half. It's just personally with what I do. I think the bigger sample size, the better, increases my chances. So if I think Boston has the advantage on the offensive edge, for example, I want as many possessions as possible to ensure that outcome. That being said, trends are trends. And this team's hitting at this insane of a percentage in first half, obviously there's something to that. But basketball is the only sport where the first half I don't really fully – I need to get better with it. It's something I need to improve in because I don't really see the logic. Like football, you have the scripted plays where the coach writes out the first 15 plays of the game, and you'll see a dramatic drop-off. You can almost tell, like, okay, scripted plays are up. Now they're playing it by ear, and the offense falls off. Baseball, you have the starting pitcher. So in the first 5, the matchup between the pitcher and the lineup is completely different. In basketball, I'm sure there's coaching adjustments in the second half. I'm sure there's a lot of logic that goes into it. But personally, I just want the maximum possessions. But there's a lot of people that are really good at this that take first halves all the time. So I'm in the minority in that. Mr. Modai.
Yeah, I don't have an official play here. I actually got this from Josh's video. If Derek White misses, I'm going to hammer Peyton Pritchard. Points plus assists. That dude's been on fire. And if one of, I mean, Drew Holiday's out, but you probably need Derek White to also be out because when he's been on fire, it's been either without Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown. It's like 2 of the 4 basically. But if Derek White plays, I mean, Peyton Pritchard, I'm going to look at points plus assists. And even if he does play, I want to see what the lines come out at, if they even do come out for Pritchard. Because I still might take it if it's at a reasonable number. But nothing's out yet, so I don't have any plays on this one.
Did you see that highlight from Pritchard the other night? Like, he crossed somebody up, took it to the rack, absorbed the contact, and finished with the M1. It's like, yo, the Celtics are sweeping the playoffs. Like, Pritchard's doing that. Pritchard, it looked like it honestly looked like an old school Ja Morant clip. It was Pritchard. Like, what
That's
the fuck
insanity.
is that? I know.
Jason Williams, like from the Kings back in the day, white chocolate.
Dude, he got bumped and still finished. And this was after he crossed somebody up. And I was like, this is Peyton Pritchard?
Amazing.
We're so screwed in the Eastern Conference. So
I'll just add real quick to what you were saying, Modai, that live betting Peyton Pritchard is very lucrative. Like if you see this game start to get out of control and he still has a 3.5 assist prop or something like that, he's going to be in the end of the game, in the third quarter, as soon as this thing's up to 20 points. So live betting him works too a lot of times.
That's actually a good point. Someone, I meant to look into this, but I haven't yet. Someone in my Discord said that if you know someone's going to come off the bench, you can always get a better price on them if you take them live, because the books will adjust, even though that's it's part of the plan. Like if someone doesn't play in the first quarter, let's pretend his over under is 11.5, it'll be 10.5 at the end of the first quarter because he hasn't played yet, so they're just adjusting. I haven't actually looked into that. That's what someone said, but it makes sense just when you hear it.
Matt, someone's asking what's a reasonable P&A, point and assist line for
I don't have a
spot you would play it at? It's not open yet, I'm assuming, right?
No, it's not open. Honestly, I don't have a number in my head. I need to just compare the odds with what the books have the odds at and everything. Mostly just to see if I can get some value on the odds. Like if all books are in alignment on a play, I normally don't bet it in the first place. I like to see some sort of odds discrepancy.
Yep. All right, next game. Wizards Bulls, and I promise they're coming. There's some good games coming. I promise. Oh, man. So we got Wizards on the road at Chicago, 12.5. Bulls minus 12.5. Matt, you have anything for this one?
Yeah, so for this one, I took Nikola Vucevic over 11.5 rebounds. This line has just been climbing all day. Like it opened up last night at 10.5 at minus 128, and I hammered it at that number. When I woke up, it was plus 115 for over 11.5. I hammered that. Now it's at minus 115 for over 11.5, and that's probably where I would cap it. Like I wouldn't take it any more above that. This is kind of similar to center rebounds against the Raptors. It's the same thing against the Wizards. He's just been crushing his rebound number against certain matchups. Like he only had 2 rebounds last game against the Celtics. That's not when you want to bet on Vooch rebounds because the Celtics recently they've been going to the rim more, but theoretically they take a bunch of jump shots, which leaves more rebounds to guards, not centers. The Wizards, granted, nobody's playing for the Wizards, so maybe their splits are hard to trust, but they attack the rim. They have the third most attempted shots within 5 feet of the basket over the past 10 games. And that's when, in those matchups, that's when Vooch eats. He had 14 against the Rockets, who had been attacking the rim. Take out that game against the Jazz when they were just draining threes. 10 games prior to that, I think they were the third most. The Pacers attacked the rim at the most. He had 12 rebounds against them. These two teams just played 9 days ago. He had 13 against the Wizards. He only played 30 minutes in that game because I almost said a half hour. That's how people talk about minutes played. He only played 30 minutes in that game because they blew them out. And even though tonight could also be a blowout, he could still cash it in a blowout. The Wizards give up literally the most rebounds per game to centers. They also, if you want to dig even further, give up the most specifically to Vooch's rebounding style per courtside pal. So minus 115, I wouldn't take it above that number, and it's just been climbing all day, so I wouldn't be surprised if it even closed higher than that, but that's probably the most comfort I would have on it.
So I actually forgot. I actually did place a bet on this game, but it's a super small bet. I have the over, but if I was to pick a side, it would be the Bulls, and I would lay that big number. Just a couple trends from you that point towards Chicago here. You know what? I'll put the Bulls under my face too, so you can see I'm also talking about the Bulls here. But the bet I actually have money on is the over. Let's put it up here. So Bulls minus 12.5. So Wizards are obviously 3-9 against the spread in the last 12. Washington's been a tough team. I know I know, tough team to bet on. Last 2 games, they were competitive. They actually won 2 in a row. They beat the Kings, then beat the Raptors. They didn't cover, though. They were laying 6 against the Raps. So they won, but they didn't even cover. But that being said, it's not like the Bulls have been covering the number either. They're just 1-4 against the spread in their last 5, 2-6 in their last 8. But a matchup I really like here for the Bulls is the style of play that we usually see from the Wizards. Now, without Tyus Jones, we've seen it change a little bit, and that's why it's a smaller bet. But the Wizards as a whole, they run a super fast pace. They run a lot of fast breaks, right? The Bulls are second in defensive transition frequency, meaning they're very good at keeping their opponents from getting out in the fast break. And the results are a testament to that. Bulls, 8-3 against the spread versus the top 5 in pace. 9-3 against the spread against bottom 5 defenses. Well, that's separate, but the Wizards are a bottom 5 defense, and the Bulls are 9-3 against the spread against bottom 5 defenses. They're also 9-4 against the spread against bottom 5 defenses at the rim. So this Washington team is a defense that their strength is protecting the perimeter, right? That's the only thing they do well on defense is defend the 3-point shot. Bulls don't care. They're not a 3-point shooting team, and we just saw against these teams that are weaker on the interior, that's where the Bulls have a high hit rate. Here's the thing. I'm a little worried. This is why I'm on the over instead of the Bulls. 54% of the Wizards shot attempts in the last 10 games have come at the rim, or on the interior, in the paint or at the rim. The Bulls' defensive interior, they had a hot month there in like January into February, but last month and a half, the Bulls' defense on the interior has disappeared. So the Wizards should score points, even with that weird-ass lineup they're going to have out there. So as much as I would like to be on the Bulls and lay the 12.5, I think the better play is the over. Now, here's why it's a small bet. Another reason why it's a small bet. Total all the way down at 226.5. And the reason for that is without Tyus Jones, we're seeing a little bit a different kind of Wizards basketball. So, in fact, they kind of played 2 back-to-back low-scoring games. But ready for this? This is a good one, though. This will sell you. I bet you this makes people place the bet. Bulls, 6 straight overs. Here's the kicker. 6 straight overs by an average of 17.2. So the Bulls have gone over 6 straight games, and they're not just going over the total. Bulls games are flying over the total by an average of 17 points. So, yeah, maybe the Wizards' last couple games looked a little bit of a lower-scoring team. I'm going to go over here. So I'm on the over, but I'd lean Bulls as well. Chris?
Yeah, that's compelling, Kyle. It'd be over for me as well. It's hard to take an under in the Wizards game. Even with the Bulls, like you said, they always get priced a little bit lower than they should be. They always come in with these super low totals, and then they end up going over. I didn't bet it, but you make a lot of strong points. I saw the same things that you said about the Wizards being able to score in the paint and the Bulls defense really giving it up from there. And then on the Washington side, who are they stopping? The Bulls just scored 127 points against them just last week. So as long as Washington can contribute, Kyle, I see their team total right now at 105.5. So you just need them to score 106 points. The Bulls defense, I always say that there's, is sneaky bad. It's not really good. They just play slow. They're 29th in points allowed per 100 possessions, 26 in opponent effective field goal percentage. They're not forcing a lot of turnovers and giving up a ton of offensive rebounds. We know Washington doesn't offensive rebound the ball, but they should be able to score in this spot as well. So be over. Kyle, nothing for me, but this is another one that I kind of stayed off. I wish I would have got to the news a little bit earlier so I could have grabbed the 9 when Kyle Kuzma got ruled out, because we know what upper management did. They said, no. You won 2 games in a row. We are not winning 3 games in a row. So they set them down to make sure that that they weren't going to win this one.
Upper management was like, absolutely not. And I agree with you about the Bulls. They play a slow pace, so their games look slower, lower scoring as far as a season long basis. But also they had 3 or 4 weeks where they were playing some defense. So a combination of those two has everyone thinking the Bulls can play defense. But I agree with you. The defense doesn't look good.
They're 8-2 to the over, Kyle, last 10 games are the Bulls.
Yeah. And then the last 6, do you have it open? Go look at the last 6. Look how much they're going over. It's they're whoa, way over. So, Mr. Modi, what are your thoughts?
Josh is next. You already went with me. I had the boost rebound.
Yeah, I have your graphic right in front of your face. My bad.
Oh, good.
Josh.
Dude, I'm still dying at the fact that one of your viewers was like, I was today years old when I found out Modi and Josh were different people.
Yeah,
That was funny.
they thought they were the same
Me.
people.
That killed me. Plus, we got red on today. My bad, dude. But either way, the that I have here is Ayo. It's definitely an over for sure in this one. But I got Ayo Dosunmu, best name in the NBA, to go over 16.5 points. I gave this out on Saturday too, by the way, and it did not hit against a very good Celtics defense. I don't know if you knew that. They are an insanely good defense on top of everything else they do well. So he came up a little short in that one with 14, and the prop actually went up because of this matchup versus the one he had versus Celtics. But I don't think that we're going to see Kobe White come in and take his usage. That might be some of it because he's been putting up buckets. Like before the game against the Celtics there, he still got 40 minutes and only scored the 14. But in the previous games, he was up 35, 39, 35 points in 39 minutes, which was his career high. He's still getting a ton of touches and usage. So he's going to be the guard as much as anybody that's going to the rim and attacking the basket against this Wizards squad. So that's really what I love about it. I like the Vooch bet as well with everything that he's going to just own down low. But Dosunmu's the dude driving to the hoop for them.
So someone says it's Barack Obama night in Chicago, so we should bet the Bulls.
All the people commenting about like it's blank night, they're all so funny.
It's such a weird thing that started on my show. Someone also said Chief Keef night in Chicago.
Yeah.
And also David Hernandez said it's that the Bulls are 4-0 against the spread on rainy nights. It's raining in Chicago. I don't know if he's bullshit. Basketball's an indoor sport. They play in an arena. I don't think the rain would affect play. But hey, you guys bet however you want to bet. All right, let's move on to the next one. Portland, Houston. This is crazy. So yeah, I mean, let's run the poll. Blazers plus 13.5. Rockets minus 13.5 and pass. So I actually kind of wanted to get to Houston here, and I actually think, Portland here, as crazy as that sounds. And I actually think there's a couple decent points for Portland. Couldn't actually get there, but I'll put Portland up for me. But when Simons was ruled out, it was kind of like, all right, we're not doing this. So I'm not betting this, but a couple little things here if you're interested. This is a pass for me, but... So Portland's been competitive recently. They're 3-1 against the number in their last 4. We just saw them play the Nuggets down to the wire, 114-111 against Denver. Now, that final score is a little deceiving because it was an 11-point game with 2 minutes left, and the Blazers hit a couple threes and had a weird turnover in there. So, yeah, it was a 3-point game. The Nuggets beat them by 10, but still, that would have covered against Denver. I mean, they covered against the Clippers. Portland's been more competitive than you think. Let's start with that. Also, strength of schedule. Look, I had the Rockets. I leaned the Rockets minus 10 or 11 in their last game. So I'm not calling bullshit on the Rockets at all. They look great. That being said, strength of schedule. In the last 5 games, Houston 29th, Portland 4th. 29-4 in strength of schedule. In the last 10 games, 4th to 30th. So we're talking about a Houston Rockets team that's played arguably the easiest schedule in the NBA over the last 10 games against a Blazers team that's going through the gauntlet. Clippers, Nuggets, Sun. The Blazers team is going through it, and the Rockets are beating up on the Wizards every night. Again, not taking any credit away for the Rockets. They look great. Just saying strength of schedule is a situation here. Look, what are some of the things the Rockets do well? Well, something they've done well all season, and it continues through this surge. They play elite fast break defense, right? They are excellent defensively against the fast break. Portland has zero interest in running the fast break. They're 26th in frequency, 30th in efficiency. The fast break is not part of the Blazers' game plan tonight. They're not trying to run the fast break. So Houston's elite fast break defense, who cares almost? Portland's not even trying to run it. They're going to play half-court basketball. And look, this Houston team, part of their recent success has been centered around the three-point shot. They've been hitting. They've been taking a lot of threes and hitting a lot of threes. Number one, it's only a matter of time before we see a night where the shots aren't falling for Houston. That's what happens when you're a three-point shooting team. Eventually, you see a night when they're not falling, and Portland's actually got decent defensive numbers against the three-point shot. So that might be tonight. Look, I'm not betting Portland, so that's all I'll say on it. But there were some angles there that I thought made the argument for a Portland bet plus the points. So it'll be Portland or pass for me. Josh.
I agree. I'm with the take that like it's not necessarily the best play for Houston tonight. But the thing with Houston is part of why we were both saying like take them against that Jazz team that they ran it up against is that they're trying. They're actively trying to get into the playoffs. The Dubs lost last night. They are now a game back of Golden State for that final playing game. Dubs are a dumpster fire, bro. But that's a different.
Well, hold on. The Warriors are playing a much stronger schedule. Warriors are going on the road to Minnesota.
Minnesota, tough game. When I say dumpster fire, I'm starting to talk about Steve Kerr, honestly. In rotation stuff, Steph cannot sit for the first 4 or 6 minutes of the fourth quarter when you have a 2-point lead against Minnesota and then come back in the game and be down 8 and be like, it's cool. Steph will Steph his way out of this. It's like he needs a little bit of help. It's not how it works. I have so many problems. We had to bully him as a country, as a basketball fandom. We had to bully Steve Kerr into playing Jonathan Kuminga, and now everybody's betting over Jonathan Kuminga every game.
Yeah,
right?
cast like 10 straight or something, right?
It's brutal with that man. Like, anyway, I'm bored of this game. It's there for them. Jalen Green came out and said it. We talked about it last show too, like I said, and I believe in that entirely. This is a completely different team. I do think it's a little scary to take them. I got over on the team total for them at 117.5. I've got over on the game total, which I got at 221.5. I still would hit it at 224.5, to be honest. I think it might have even be a couple still like 223. Yeah, you can still get 223.5 on this one as well for the over. So like, however either of those numbers I'm good with. I mean, I get that they had 85 points at half last game in part because they were draining threes against Utah, but they also go to the bucket a ton. And that's going to be what I think they're going to have in this one. We know DeAndre Ayton's probably not playing, right? I don't think. Jeremy Grant is out. There's going to be plenty of Duop Reith in there to attempt to guard the rim. That I don't think that's going to work either. So the way that Jalen Green's going to the bucket, even Amin Thompson, they don't have Jabari Smith, who literally got into like a street fight with Chris Dunn, and now Dunn's out for 2 games, and Jabari, like, it was wild. It was legit boxing for a minute. But you watch that clip. But either way, even without Jabari, they're still running the fast break so much that like I think they're going to continue to push the tempo, and Portland needs to come along for like 105 points for this to get over.
Yeah, and then the way the Rockets are playing, it's not exactly like the lockdown defense, slow pace that we were seeing earlier in the season. So, I mean, I think the Rockets have hit 4 or 5 straight overs themselves. Yep. Chris, what are your thoughts on this crazy game?
Yeah, they're very, very. And I changed my mic. I don't know if you guys can hear me better now.
We heard you fine the whole time. I don't.
Cool. I don't know.
Josh, you made a lot of great points, and I'll just echo those. Yeah, I think what you're talking about, Kyle, with this offense, the reason why they're going over is because Houston's second-rated offense as far as points scored per 100 possessions over the last 2 weeks. They're behind Boston. Right, we had to rewind about a month ago where All-Star break, where OKC was the second best offense behind Boston. Since then, Boston offense has gotten better, and Houston, out of all teams in the NBA, Houston is the second best offense over the last 2 weeks at 125.6. That's absolutely insane to me. And the reason why, Josh, just to kind of validate your point a little bit more, is Portland. These guys are actually 4th in frequency over the last 2 weeks. They're trying to get out and run the fast break. And I think that they could contribute. Josh, you said they only need about 105 points. I don't know if it's going to work because Houston is really good at every defensive metric, it seems like, in basketball right now. But no Jabari Smith Jr. because he throws a half punch. And I think that does impact that defense just a tad bit. So, yeah, they're going to continue to run with pace. No Jabari Smith Jr. You only got Jack Lando back there now. So, he's not the greatest defender. I expect Portland to be able to score. I would like it a little bit more, I think, if Ayton doesn't play, because he can slow the pace down and he does help offensively, but he also just play slow. And I'm not a big Ayton guy, but anyway, I like over. Give me over in this one. Haven't bet it yet, but I'll look for those 223.5, Josh.
Yeah, it's really hard to argue with an over bet when the Rockets just continue to fly over. I think it's 4 in a row, 6-1 to the over in the last 7, something along those lines. So very tough to argue with an over bet here.
One of those unders was the first Şengün game out against the Spurs. No Wemby, or with Wemby in there. Wemby slows everything down. So basically 6-0.
Yep. So yeah, the Rockets have been straight overs recently. All right. Last but not least, Mr. Modi.
So for this one, I have Fred VanVleet over 8.5 assists, currently offered at plus 112, which I would still take at that number. All you guys said about the Houston Rockets scoring is obviously accurate, and it's something that I'm on board with. I like it for VanVleet assists. I just like this as a fade of recent results. Like last game, Fred VanVleet went 10 of 15 from 3. He literally made 10 3-pointers. If you look at his last 9 games prior to that, he literally hadn't even attempted 10 3-pointers, and then he made 10. And his assist over-under in that game was 9.5. It dropped a full assist. And he even had 7 in that game, despite having, like I said, 10 3-pointers. I can't hammer that home enough. That is like the anomaly of all anomalies. Totally. And even if you include last game, like he's been playing really, really well since Şengün has been out from an assist perspective. He's cashed 9 or more assists in 7 of his last 10 games. One game he went under, he had 8. The other 2 games he went under, he had 7. So I think we're getting a great buy low opportunity because like he just went under one game. I don't think his assist should have dropped a full, or his assist over under should have dropped by a full stat. And look at like the Blazers, look at what they've been giving up to like high usage guards recently, high assist rate guards. In the 2-game stretch against the Clippers, James Harden had a combined 24 assists. He had 14 and 10. A couple of weeks ago when they played the Bulls, Ayo Dosunmu had 10. His over-under was 4.5. CJ McCollum had 8. His over-under was 4.5. Peyton Pritchard, my guy, had 8, and his over-under was 2.5. According to Courtside Pal, the Blazers literally give up the most assists per game to Fred VanVleet's playmaking style. So it's not only recent stats, it's the entire season. In the last 10 games, Fred VanVleet is tied with Luka for averaging the most assists per game in the NBA, and he's 5th in potential assists. I think this is an awesome spot, like 9 or more assists, especially the fact that we're getting it for plus money.
Cool. So VanVleet over assists. And I saw a couple people in the comments that were on the same thing. So it seems like a lot of people like VanVleet's assists.
Yeah, it opened up at 7.5. That's what people are asking about. And then it immediately got steamed up to 8.5.
Yeah, but you're getting a nice payout here, plus 118.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, and you said you hit 9 or more in 7 of his last 10 at plus 118. That's called value. 60%, 23% in favor of Houston. So a lot of you clicking the Rockets minus 13.5.
Oh, Kyle, and somebody just put in the chat, it's Paul Wall night in Houston.
Oh, my God. I was going to make that joke at the top, and I forgot to make my Paul Wall joke.
Paul Wall night in Houston. So, you know the Rockets are going to be up for that.
Damn. It's all gangster grills, baby.
Right.
All right.
Disco ball.
Is he still, does Paul Wall still make music?
Gotta be. Dude, it was like 4 years ago he put out a song. It was like pretty good, actually.
Oh, yeah, 4 years ago. The last time I listened to a Paul Wall song, we're talking like 16, 17 years ago.
I was going to say over under. If I had said like 6.5 years since he put a song out, you'd be like over. So like 4 is, pretty recent.
4 is definitely recent. Suns, Spurs, and I do have a couple points here, but I don't have a play. So I have, it's a pass, but I will say strength of schedule, the Suns look great, but they're 26th in the last 5 games at strength of schedule. But the thing is the matchup. The Suns play better against bad defenses, and the Spurs are worse against good offenses. So it's the bad matchups that favors the Suns, and the way the Suns are playing, I don't know. I guess Suns are past, but I truly have nothing. I don't even have a lean for this game. I was leaning Spurs plus. I almost took Spurs plus 10.5 in the first time these two teams played, which was the other night. And the Suns beat the life out of them. So, yeah, Suns are past. I guess I got nothing.
It was that double revenge spot. Remember back to Halloween, the Suns went into the Spurs went into Phoenix.
Didn't someone come back from like down 30 in that game?
Oh, yeah,
right.
And then they played 2 days later and they lost again. So I think Phoenix had that circle. They blew the doors off of them in that one.
That's the craziest game of the season.
That was wild. So are you making a move in this one, Chris?
No, I'm not. I'm not making.
Hell no.
No. I'm definitely not. Phoenix got a big game against Denver on deck on Wednesday. That's not enough to keep me off. But I can struggle. I can see them struggling to find a motivation with a team they just blew out by 30. San Antonio may want to play a little bit better, and sometimes they can play better with Victor Wembanyama. Maybe it leaked towards the over with no Wemby out there. I'm pretty sure they're not going to be able to stop Phoenix. Maybe a Phoenix team total over. But it was a game that when I saw Victor Wembanyama out, and I saw that, there was more attractive games on the board, I was like, yeah, I'll pass on this one.
Out of curiosity, I would like to see the Spurs record without. Spurs. Why is this NBA? Oh, okay. They are without Wembanyama. This stat news messing up here.
Oh, this
Spurs record without Victor Wembanyama. 1-7. They're 1-7 without him. So, all right. So either you guys have. Yeah, the record with him isn't much better. Matt, you have anything for this one?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have any money on this one, to be honest with everybody. I just gave it out as a lean, but I kind of like Kevin Durant over his point total. It's 24.5. He cashed it last game. He didn't play a second in the fourth quarter. He could do it again in the first 3 quarters. And in the off chance that this game is closer than last game, then maybe he does have to play the fourth quarter and can score more. It's really just a matchup play. Like, even without Wemby, the Spurs, they cannot guard the mid-range, either like pull up 2-pointers, mid-range shots, whatever it may be. Over the past 10 games, they're allowing the 4th most made mid-range jumpers and the 5th most attempts. Same stretch, 2nd most made pull-up, specifically 2-pointers on the most attempts. And even though KD, his scoring has been down recently, if you look at his last 10 games, he's still attempting the 2nd most pull-up 2-pointers in the NBA. He's making the 3rd most. And in that same stretch, last 10 games, he's making and taking the most mid-range jumpers, even ahead of DeMar DeRozan. It's how he scored last game. Again, not playing the fourth quarter. Could be a Devin Booker game. Like, they basically have the same shot profile. I just like KD because his number's a little bit lower, and he had been on a super cold streak. So it's just kind of betting the opposite of that. But again, this is a lean. I don't have any money on it myself because I hate these back-to-backs. So sometimes you can always find.
I hate them too. And I had that written down as well. The Spurs do have terrible defensive numbers against the mid-range shot, which is obviously something you don't want to see when you play the Phoenix Suns. So, Josh, you're last on this one. Doesn't sound like anyone really loves.
No, if Wemby was playing, if Wemby does play, I'm gonna take a under on Yusuf Nurkic. Everything, probably PRA, at least points and rebounds. But yeah, I need Wemby to play to know what's up because when
he's already ruled out, right, Josh?
He's out. Yeah, he's out. Wemby's out.
Okay, then I'm gonna find an under on Nurkic. I don't have an official bet because I was still waiting on that.
Let's just skip to the next game.
Yusuf.
He's leaning Nurkic. Modi's leaning
Nurkic
Durant.
under.
But
we can move on.
Doesn't sound like anyone actually has anything. So let's move on.
That's it. I'm not gonna explain it. I'll just let you know.
Yeah. So we got. By the way, 58%, 22% in favor of. Click the wrong thing. 58%, 22% in favor of Suns there. So. Mavs, Jazz up, and oh man, I wanted to get some action. This is at least we're getting into the territory of some more bettable games. I was having trouble with this one, so let's run the poll. Matt, you want to start us out?
Yeah, someone said that we were muted. I could hear everybody.
Yeah, I don't know. It's showing up fine on my end.
Yeah, same. I mean, I could hear everybody fine. I don't know if our volume was down.
I think some people might be trolling though, like trying to be funny or whatever.
All right, so for this one, I have Luka over 10.5 assists. Even though this is like one of those stupid back-to-back ones, I actually did really like this play. It's best offered at -115. I'd still take it at that number. I put a full unit on him over 10.5. For full disclosure, I got him at 12 plus at +130, but I think the -115 is better value because that came out after I'd already put out my video. And I really do like this one as a fade of recent results. Like, he only had 8 assists last game against the Jazz, but he had 17 potential assists. And Luka generally has a pretty high conversion rate of his potentials to actual assists just because of his playmaking style. It's either lobs or it's kickouts to open shooters on the corner. And lobs are obviously very high percentage, and corner threes are high percentage as well. And he had 17 potential assists on 8 actual assists. So I think that he could have exactly 17 potentials in this game tonight. And I think he could get like 13 actual assists. The game before that, the game against the Spurs, he had 16 assists on 20 potential assists. Like, that's a little bit crazy, probably somewhere closer to the middle. But this is just a juicy matchup. Like, point guard assists against the Jazz have been a good matchup all year. It's a great matchup for Luka specifically. He has, according to Courtside Pal, they allow literally the most assists per game to his playmaking style. And when you dig into the numbers, it makes sense. Like, the reason why his assist was so high against the Spurs was because the Spurs allow a ton of points to pick and roll men. So did the Jazz. They give up the 5th most points per game to roll men on the pick and roll. They also allow the most made and attempted catch and shoot 3-pointers in the NBA. Those are Luka's assists. They run a pick and roll, and he either scores, he gets a lob, or he kicks it out to someone on the corner. Like, it's an unstoppable play, even in the playoffs. You can't do anything for it. So in this matchup, I think like just fading what happened last game, it's something that I generally like to do. And I think, again, this is a full unit play that I put on the Doncic assists.
Okay. So I think the question of this game comes down to, do you trust the wrong game. Do you trust the recent defense from the Dallas Mavericks? Because the Dallas Mavericks all of a sudden have good defensive numbers. In the last 5 games, the Mavericks are actually 5th in overall defensive efficiency. So if you're co-signing like, hey, Dallas is showing up and playing some defense, making a run at the playoffs here, okay, that's huge because Utah is 1-9-1 against the spread against top 5 defenses. So if you got a good defense playing the Jazz, just bet them because they always cover. I mean, we're talking about a 90% hit rate. So the only way I would go here is, let me go up to get my pick on the board here. The only way I would go here is Dallas. That being said, I do not have $1 down on this game because they just played, and I don't know. Now they're on the road in Utah where the Jazz are better, and it's a big number. And the only way I'd go is Dallas, though. Josh?
Yeah, for this one, I'm in the same boat. I actually bet Dallas 7.5, and I gave it out at 8 by the time I was able to put a video out last night. But my thing was like I was ready to slam an over if Lowry and Jordan Clarkson were playing. Even if they do play, I still think 7.5.
They're in, Josh.
Oh, they are in. That's
Over
my favorite
in.
bet. Then is over. Damn, all this stuff happening while we come on air. Doing this stuff making me look stupid, Dallas. But yeah, for Lowry and Jordan Clarkson being in, then give me the over because like I was trying to hit it at like 234.5, and then it kept dropping a bit. With them in, like I do think that they come along for the ride with Dallas, who will be scoring on this team for sure for a lot of the reasons that Moda already mentioned about Luka getting assists and all that stuff. So they're gonna, I mean, they run that role man play as much as anybody, as we know with Luka being the super computer. So the pace is up. I don't buy that. I mean, it's not that I don't buy it, but they've been playing slightly slower teams. They have had some good defensive games against some good teams like Denver and Minnesota. But both those teams have been playing incredibly slow as well over the last couple of weeks. So I think you get a bit of value with them coming home against a terrible Jazz defense and a team that also likes to speed it up. So I think the pace will prevail and both teams will be making shots.
So yeah, we agree. I was leaning over as well. So we both agree there. Let's bring Chris up.
It's the same. Josh, you mentioned it. I'm glad you like it as well, Kyle. And I'm a very contrarian bettor. I typically like to play a lot of unders, but I mean, how can you play an under with a team that's 30th in points allowed per 100 possessions over the last 2 weeks, 30th in opponent effective field goal percentage, 29th in turnover rate? And granted, they get Clarkson back and they get Lauri Markkanen back, but that's going to help the offense. Jordan Clarkson's not a great defender. Lauri Markkanen, I'll give him a little bit. At least he has long arms and he can, like deflect shots and stuff and get in the way. But nobody else on this team wants to play defense. They just want to run at an extremely fast pace. I do expect Dallas to kind of take their foot up off the gas a little bit in this spot as well. And the reason why is because it's the first leg of a back-to-back with Sacramento tomorrow. So I can see them, potentially saving some defensive energy for tomorrow's game against Sacramento, a much more meaningful game. They just beat this team, of course, as well. And, Dallas, their defense has been a little bit better at home than it's been on the road after the All-Star break as well. If you go back and look at some of those defensive metrics, I think P.J. Washington is still listed as questionable, but even without him, I think Dallas should be able to score here. Give me this full game over, and look towards Dallas team total to go over to 122.5 as well.
Yeah, real quick, if P.J. Washington's out, the over is great because he's actually been filthy on defense and equally bad on offense. So like he's an over machine helper for sure.
All right, so it looks like we're all leaning Dallas in the over, and Modai has Doncic over assists. This poll is overwhelming. The entire world betting the Mavs here. 84% of you clicked Dallas, just 9% of you clicked Utah. That's a little terrifying.
That's scary.
Everyone's on the Mavs here.
You do have the smartest bettors in the world.
Yeah, I mean, the people that watch are typically experienced bettors, the people that watch the show, but still, we're all seeing it the same way. There's not one person seeing it the other way. All right, Memphis, Denver. And I'm not even going to say a word about this game because I didn't even look at it for a second. I looked at the line. I'm not laying this big of a number with the Nuggets, but I'm also not trying to back Denver here on the road. I mean, back Memphis here on the road to Denver. It'd be Memphis or pass for me, straight pass.
Yeah, Cal, straight pass for me too, because even with Murray and Jokic added to the injury report that was out last night, now Aaron Gordon, Michael Porter Jr., are both added to the injury report as well. So, like, they're literally their whole starting five outside of KCP is listed as questionable for this game. Like, I have no idea what to do with this. Best of luck. And we know that the Memphis Grizzlies injury report is, like, its own roster. So, with a bench. So, yeah, there's no way I'm playing this game either, especially without the information that we need. And also, I want to mention this. Denver, look ahead spot because they do got a game against Phoenix on Wednesday. And remember, they just lost to Phoenix.
Yep.
What was
at
it?
home,
117-107 at home.
They like no excuses. They got their ass beat in Denver. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, no way I'm laying that big of a number, but yeah, I definitely can't do it without the injury report in this one.
Yeah, same. Josh.
Yeah, no, I didn't even look at this game. I'm not even pretend to know anything about it. I will be hitting Reggie Jackson props again, like I said last show. As soon as we were waiting for that report, him and Christian Brown, I'll be hitting points, rebounds for Brown, and points and assists for RJax.
Cool. So yeah, we're all passing. Matt.
Yeah, I wanted to give out a Jokic under points because I could see this being a game where he doesn't care. But if he ends up playing and other guys don't, like I'm not touching that. So no, nothing.
A sweep on passes across the board.
Can't lose if you don't play.
Yeah, I mean that game sucks. 14.5. It's 42%, 30% in favor of Nuggets. 26% of you click pass. 2 games left, and I'm betting both of them. How about that? There we go. Let's get to the goods. Let's start off with Sixers Kings. I have bets down on both these last 2 games, so we'll finally get to some games where I have some money down. So if you watched the handicapping show this morning, I went through both of them. So what I'll do is let me just pull up the angles that we found on that show. While I'm doing that, Matt, you want to go first?
Unfortunately, I'm also passing on this one.
Oh, come on. This is a good one.
Sixers on a back-to-back.
Don't be bashful.
Sixers on a back-to-back with nobody on their roster. Like, they just beat the Clippers. They're gonna lose by 95 tonight against.
Stand your ground, Wada. Don't let him bully you into making a bet.
Wrong.
The only thing I'll say is that I had Keegan Murray over 2.5 made 3-pointers. I got it at plus 120. That's now down to plus 100. If it gets up to like plus 110, I'd probably take it there. But I wouldn't touch it at plus 100 now. So that's all.
Okay. So let me go. And the Sixers are not. I think the Sixers might win. I'm on Philly here. I took the points. Don't take what I just said as like, oh, Kyle loves this one. I'm going to bet heavy. A lot of times people, how did you do that little bubble there? Did you put that up?
Oh, that was cool. I literally just gave it. I literally just did that.
What?
Dude, there's an automatic hand thing now that on these streams cool. Where like, yeah, you could do something like that. Like, I don't.
What?
Whatever.
That's wild.
Yeah.
I promise you, I didn't do that on purpose. I was just giving you a thumbs down for putting money on the Sixers.
So I had money on the Sixers. And they just won. But anyway, so what do we know about the Kings? This is the spot they lose at home laying points. So I just got nothing but trends. Yes, so Philly is on a back-to-back. And on this season, yes, they are 5-7 against the number on 0 days rest. So Matt's right. Philly's on a back-to-back, and they are below 500. But let me show you, if we want to talk trends, let's talk some other ones here. First of all, Sacramento, 3-7 against the spread against bottom 5 offenses. Philadelphia recently, they've been playing some defense. Offense has been struggling. This is where you don't bet the Kings. At home, laying a big number to a bad offense that shouldn't be able to keep up. Somehow always does. Sacramento just 3-7 against the spread against bottom 5 offenses. Also, Sixers are running an extremely slow pace. 29th, only behind the Knicks as far as slow pace in the NBA. Sacramento, 5-7 against the spread against the bottom 5 in pace. So another angle for the Sixers there. You know what the Kings have been doing, and this is crazy. The Kings have been playing some defense. Did you know in the last 10 games, the Sacramento Kings are 3rd in overall defensive efficiency? 3rd. And in the last 5 games, they're 1st. In the last 5 games, now it's the last 5 games, they played a weaker schedule. They're 1st in defensive efficiency. So why am I bringing that up? Because on the season, Philadelphia, 9-4 against the spread against top 5 defenses. Phillies cover machines against these defensive teams, and the way the Kings have been playing recently actually favors Philadelphia. So I like that. And here's the home run swing, the icing on the cake. What are we looking at here? We're looking at the Kings at home after a win, on which this season they are 1-7. Against the number. The Kings at home coming off a win. The Kings at home laying a big number to an inferior team. This is just a spot you fade Sacramento, and I'm in on the Sixers. I got it at 9.5. So let's go Philly. Let's see if Chris agrees with me there.
I do, Kyle. Only way I would play this one, I can't trust Sacramento laying this big number at home. On the road is when you bet Sacramento, right? We've been saying that. I'm pretty sure you've been saying that all season, Kyle. I know I've been saying the same thing. I was a little more hesitant to get the actual bet in because The spot for Philly says what? That they are second leg of a back-to-back, third game in 4 nights with travel, coming off a 9.5 point a win as a 9.5 point dog yesterday against the Clippers, and it's the last leg of a 4-game road trip. So the trend there tells me that teams in that spot are so unrested road dogs coming off an upset win in the last game of at least a 3-game road trip are just 9-19-1 in the last 4 years of basketball. So that's 67% says that the Kings win. But I also found what you found, Cal. Sacramento 1-7 against the spread as a home favorite, coming off a win as a dog in their previous game. 0-7 against the spread in their last 7 in that spot as well. And then you also get the first leg of a back-to-back with a conference opponent because they got the Dallas Mavericks tomorrow. So this game means nothing. Well, I'm not gonna say nothing. It does mean something as far as the standings, but it doesn't mean as much. And you get a Sacramento team. This was another angle I looked at. So they're 0-6 against the spread when they're returning home after a 3-game road trip. Every time Sacramento comes back home, they lose the next game against the spread. So it had to be Philly plus the 9.5 plus the 10 right here for me as well.
All right, 2 of us on Philly. Matt's a coward, but we got 2 of us on Philly. What about Josh?
Damn, I would take Philly too. My favorite bet though is the Tobias Harris over. Not words that I usually say in that order in the same sentence, but Tobias Harris over 24.5 points and rebounds. I think a couple of things are just working in our favor for him. He's on an upswing. I do think they're going to rely on him on the road a bit more like they have in the last couple of games where he's gone over this number twice now. And he's got a good match versus the Kings. He's done this every time he's played them against the Kings. He's playing against Harrison Barnes, worst defender on the team, especially this season. He's got the worst individual defensive rating, actually by a pretty decent margin for HB. So it's either he or Keegan Murray that's trying to defend Tobias Harris, and I like him in both those matchups. So I'm going to go over. Also, I felt a lot more confident to give this bet because right before I gave it to Prop Beaver to make the graphic, the Kelly Oubre news came out that he's questionable. So if he doesn't play, now we're talking about a dude that does take from Tobias Harris a bit. The only dude really going to the rim a bit more. Tobias Harris is going to the rim the third most out of he and then Maxey and Oubre. But without Oubre in there, now we got one more dude who's going to be playing down low a lot more. So I also I changed it to just the points and rebounds when I got the Oubre news. But the assists aren't too much of a hindrance.
So right now, the updated graphic would be Tobias Harris over points and rebounds only, not assists. Okay.
Correct.
All right. So our poll agrees with me and Chris. This is a heavy Sixers community tonight. 63%, 24% on Philly. So not many people taking the Kings here. Line did drop from 9.5 to 9, indicating that they're definitely taking some Philly action. Last game up. All right. Pacers on the road in LA again to play the Clips. They just played here last night against the Lakers and took a hell of a loss. 150-145 was the final score of that one.
Rest in peace to my under 242 at halftime yesterday.
You had the under? That's crazy. I didn't bet that game, but I gave out as a lean Pacers +3. So had I bet it, I would have lost. That being said, I'm on the Pacers in this one. I actually have to pause this video. I don't know why the 11th game always freezes, so let me just pause it right there. Okay, so Pacers +5.5. I'll go in to pull up my angles right here. This is another one that I went through on the handicapping show, and I'll read them to you right now. There's some overwhelming ones here. So we got, first of all, the Clippers just aren't covering. Clippers just 3-8 against the spread in their last 11, 0-4 against the spread in their last 4 at home. Westbrook is back, which maybe that gives the Clippers a little bit of energy. Westbrook off the bench. But as a whole, the Clippers have not been profitable at all. One of the least profitable teams in the NBA recently. And if you're wondering why the Clippers haven't been profitable, just look at their defense because it no longer exists, apparently. The Clippers in the last 10 games are 28th in defensive efficiency. So we're looking at the last 10 games. You're looking at one of the worst defenses in the NBA in the Los Angeles Clippers. They're 24th in the last 5. So it doesn't seem to be improving much. Clippers defense looks terrible. On the season, Indiana, when they play these bad defenses, 11-4-1 against the number against bottom 5 defenses. Against defenses that don't force turnovers, Clippers do not force turnovers, 13-4-1 against the spread. So this has been a very profitable spot for the Pacers, very profitable matchup for them. Also, Clippers against teams that attack the rim, just 3-6 against the spread. Pacers have been attacking the rim at a high frequency all season, and against teams that can't defend the fast break, as we know, Pacers love to run the fast break. In the last 10 games, they're actually first, I believe, in pace, the Pacers. So this Pacers team, we know they run the floor all season, push the tempo, run the fast break. Against teams in the bottom 5 of fast break defense, they are 7-3 against the spread, which the Clippers are. So there's a lot of angles pointing to the Pacers here, but there's one big one that I didn't mention that favors the Clippers. Indiana is an NBA worst 2-10 against the spread on 0 days rest. So there's that. That being said, both these teams played yesterday, but neither had to travel. So, I mean, whatever disadvantage you're going to say for the Pacers, you have to say the same thing for the Clippers. They both played yesterday in the same building. So, yeah, I'm on the Pacers here. I think based on recent production that this should be closer to 2.5, this line. I actually also bet the money line. I think the Pacers win. So, I'm on Indiana. Josh?
Yeah, the only thing I would bet in this one is probably an over, but I'm totally on a pass on this one. And since you came to me first, I do have to dip right now if that's cool.
Oh, yeah,
so
it's taken
appreciate it.
Today
Yeah.
went a little longer than expected.
No, it's all good. Thanks for having me on, dude.
Yeah.
We'll talk later.
Yep, talk to you soon,
fellas.
man. Modi?
Yeah. So this goes against everything I believe in, but I'm taking a James Harden over points. I just love
It
this
goes
spot
against
for
everything you believe in?
Yeah. I mean, come on, a Philly fan betting on the James Harden points. I mean, come on. But I mean, yesterday I got suckered in thinking he was going to have a revenge game against the Sixers. He started off hot, and then I think he scored 2 points in the second half. He only ended the game with 12 points. Right now, I should say it's best offered at 16.5 at minus 105. Or I would still take it at that number. It changed a little bit. Like the over 15.5 isn't available anymore. I still would take the minus 105. It's a weird game yesterday. Like Ty Lue benched his starters with 6 minutes left, and they're like down by 20 with 6 minutes left. Isn't the craziest thing in the world. And he just didn't put his starters back in. It was weird. So he didn't play a ton of minutes yesterday. And on back-to-backs, he's been fine. Like he hasn't been horrible. He's hit this in 5 of 10 games on a back-to-back. But he has some games where he just blew up, like 30 points, 29, 23. Not that 23 is blowing up, but it would easily cash this over-under. And the matchup against the Pacers is better than one might think. Like I had the thought of like, oh, anybody who attacks the rim, like that's who you want to take against the Pacers. It's really just anybody that drives, that ISOs, and that runs pick and rolls. Like obviously the drives is a collection of the two, but they give up the most points per game to ISO, and they give up the most points per game to pick and roll ball handlers. And Harden's tied with Kawhi for scoring the most ISO points on the Clippers. That's also the 6th most in the entire NBA in terms of isolation points. And he runs significantly more pick and roll because all Kawhi does is ISO. So I think this is a nice bounce back opportunity to take Harden's points. And not to pull Josh, I also have to bounce because
I'm sorry, this one went late.
I mean 11 games, 3 people. What do you expect? But yeah, the Harden play I actually did like this one a lot.
So he's on Harden. Chris?
Cool. See you, gents.
Later, Chris.
Deuce.
I mean later, Matt.
Deuces, man. Over in this one for me, Kyle, and it's for a lot of the reasons that you said. I looked into that Pacers unrested this season as well. You said 2-10 straight up and against the spread. They've actually allowed 10 of their 12 opponents to go over their team total in this spot. So I think the Clippers should be able to score. You look at the shot charts and where they're shooting the shots from over the last 2 weeks. 4th in mid-range frequency, 4th in mid-range accuracy, Kyle. I think they should mid-range them to death in this game, whether it's James Harden, whether it's Kawhi Leonard. But on the opposite side, and this was the reason why I like Philly so much yesterday, is because Philly's really been running the fast break. And this Indiana Pacers team is way more efficient than the Philadelphia 76ers are in the fast break. So you get the Clippers on the second leg of a back-to-back. Pacers didn't play any defense yesterday. The Lakers scored more points than they had since Jerry West was there with 150 last night against this defense. So I don't think it's going to get any better in this spot. I think it's matchup advantages on both sides, whether it's transition buckets for the Pacers or it's the Clippers being able to get to the mid-range shot and to the rim, because Pacers defense is slid off just a tad bit there as well. The only thing I didn't like, Kyle, in this one was when I'm talking about the over is that the spot for the Clippers defense that's really been the worst is the 3-point shooting, and the Pacers aren't really shooting the 3-point shot. Philly shot the hell out of the ball yesterday from the 3. So that kind of scares me off a little bit, but the total isn't high enough. I feel like it should be about 237 in this one, and I think both teams can get to about 119 apiece. So I'll take the over here in this spot.
Yeah, Yeah, I mean, I would lean towards over as well. The only thing that scared me off was Pacers road unders. I know we're hitting. I don't know if that even is still a thing, but they were hitting.
Still a thing, except last night when I bet the under. And
yeah, except last night. Someone brought up my Naked and Afraid audition. That shit's funny. Yeah, appreciate you watching that. 55%, 36% in favor of the Pacers. So let's run a quick community parlay. We've already ran pretty long, so we ran so long that the guess had to bounce. So Hornets. Well, they picked. They were leading. No, they were leading Cavs. So Cavs minus 12. Nets Raptors. They were definitely leading Nets. Pistons Knicks. Pistons won that poll. So Pistons 7 plus 17, and Celtics Hawks. Celtics minus 10.5. All right, cast your votes. Someone said it's meatball sub night in LA. Shout out to bro for staying and not leaving like the other guys. They had shit to do. It's not like they were like, I'm bored, I'm leaving. They had
You got the best chat, guy.
Yeah, they're a bunch of unreasonable savages. So it looks like Celtics minus 10.5 is gonna make it.
I'll keep track, Cal.
Oh, cool. All right. So first up, we got Celtics minus 10.5. Let's get ourselves a community parlay win, and then we'll tweet it out with screenshot without those two guys in it. Won't even tag them. They don't even get a tag. All right. So Wizards Bulls next. They definitely were leading Bulls in that one. Bulls minus 12.5. Then they got Blazers Rockets. They were leading Rockets. Rockets minus 13.5.
Jesus.
Suns, yeah, for real. They were leaning Suns. Suns minus 12. This is crazy. And then Mavs, they were definitely leaning Mavericks. Everyone liked the Mavericks. In fact, we could probably, I'm running the poll, we could probably go ahead and write Mavericks money line in there because I almost guarantee that's where they're voting. Everyone loved the Mavericks.
Yeah.
I mean, I was leaning Dallas also, so I'm not even saying they're wrong. Yeah, no. I mean, it's over 80% are clicking Mavericks. I'm just ending the poll now. It's Mavericks. Everyone's clicking Mavericks. So everyone likes Dallas. So Celtics minus 10.5, Dallas. And then the last three are, and then we'll do a second place vote. We got Grizzlies. I guess we'll do Nuggets minus 14.5. Sixers, Kings. Sixers money line. If y'all want to do it. And then Pacers, Clippers. Who won that poll? Pacers won. So Pacers money line. Couple dogs here. This is a tough selection. Sixers money line, Pacers money line, or you got to lay the 14.5 with Denver. See what they pick here. Someone say
money line.
Yeah, we'll see. It looks like it's going to be Pacers money line. Someone's saying Jazz money line. Let's give it another 5 seconds, but it looks like it's going to be Indiana money line.
Atakari, I see him in the chat. He said, Cal, ask Chris if he's doing a bet 365 parlay. So I always say, I say this to my community, Cal. If I do a money line parlay, it's always on bet 365 because if they go up by 20, you win the bet and you don't have to worry about them coming back. So
right.
Atakari, absolutely. If you do it, I always tell you guys, if I do a little 2-leg money line parlay, it's always on bet 365.
Right. Yep. Yeah, I remember they did something like that during baseball season as well. If your team was up 4 runs or something, and you'd be surprised how many times that actually comes into play.
That's a fact. Yeah.
When you first read it, you're like, "Oh, what a bullshit promo," and then it's like, "Wait a second, that actually could be profitable." Yeah. So Pistons plus 17, Bulls minus 12. Oh no, I'm sorry. Pistons plus 17, Rockets minus 13.5, Sixers money line. Those are the last three. It's for the last spot. So Pistons plus 17, Rockets minus 13.5, Sixers money line. What is the last leg of this community parlay? Let's finish it out.
We got some hella odds already, Cal, because we taking these spreads.
Yeah.
We getting paid of this cash.
Yeah, this is going to be, especially if they add like Sixers money line to this. Mm-hmm. It looks like they're going to put the Rockets in, but that's a minus 110 ad. That's a.
Mm-hmm.
Let's give it another few seconds. Someone says Bill Clinton night tonight in L.A. All right. It's Rockets minus 13.5 is the last leg.
Rockets minus 13.5. What's your guess real quick, Kyle, on the 4 leg?
Oh, okay, so Mavericks, Pacers. What's the line of the Pacers? Oh, they're plus 5.5. I'm going to say plus 1190.
Nah, bigger. Plus 1869 on FanDuel.
Wow. This is a home run swing from the community here. We got Boston minus 10.5, Dallas money line, Pacers money line.
Oh, no, Kyle. No, my fault. I thought it was Dallas minus 7.
Oh, no.
So it's plus 1254. My fault.
Plus 1190 was close, man.
Yeah, you're right.
So it's 1254. I got weirdly good at the guessing the parlays. So Boston minus 10.5, Dallas money line, Pacers money line, Rockets minus 13.5 at plus 1254.
Yep.
Wow, that's a home run swing. Everyone, thanks for watching. That was a good one. I know it went a little longer than expected, but it's because we had some good information to give. So tomorrow, same schedule. We'll be back at 4 p.m. Ronald's coming on. UCapper. Only God. 4 games, but I think they're a lot better than the games today. So less games, but I think they're better spots. So see you tomorrow. Make sure you check out Chris's stuff. Are you about to go live on your show now?
No. I'm not doing my show today. I'll do it tomorrow.
All right, yeah. Make sure you check out. He does Spaces on Twitter where he runs through the games. So make sure you follow him on Twitter. His name's right there, Chris B. Capin, right underneath it. Everyone, have a good one. Remember to bet responsibly tonight. We'll talk soon.